So I can sit here and actually give you a list of things that I feel are important, but the truth is that they may not be important to you, and they may not be important to the next person or to the person after that. Yes, we may have some things in common that we feel are important, but the truth is you may be at a point in your life where you're asking yourself what is important in life. Now, as young kids, we're always guided by our parents or some authority figure that essentially tells us what is important. And we live by that standard and we grow up, perhaps you're at a point in your life to where you've achieved those things. Maybe, growing up, our parents tell us that going to college and getting that job that makes 6 figures, that is what is important. And so you go to college, you get that job, and you still feel like there's this big empty void. So you really ask yourself, well, what really is important? Or there could be some other scenario that you're in. And when it comes to finding what's important in life, it's important to taste life right now. Wherever you are in life, maybe you're that person that's been stuck in some small town your whole life, and you haven't experienced a lot and you don't know much outside that town. Or perhaps you're a person that has achieved all these big things, right? All these goals that your parents wanted you to achieve, and you're like, these things are okay, but I don't feel really what the importance of the whole thing was, right? I'm getting nothing out of it. And so this is what comes down to this question, is what is important in life? And I've been at certain points like that in my life where I feel like, well, I don't understand really what is important, right? Like, yes, I did the college thing, and yes, I did the military thing, and yes, I got that job, that dream job, and I've done all these different things, right? And the truth is you look at it and you're still not satisfied, right? It's not something that's really important, right? And so what you really need to understand here is that finding what is important in life is something everybody has to do for themselves, right? And this is why I go back to trying to experience as many different things in life as you can, because this is where you're going to find what is truly important. Now, some things you may have acquired and maybe you don't really see the importance in it, right? Maybe you feel like, yes, it's a great to have and it is important to me, but you don't really see it, right? Not until you don't really see the importance until you actually lose that thing, right? Now that could be, a relationship, or that can be, a job, or whatever the case is, a business, or whatever the case is. But the truth is you have to reflect, right? You have to reflect on what you have now. And what is important in your life now. It'd be good to actually get down a piece of paper and jot down what's important in your life now. What really makes you want to get up out of your bed and be like, this is what's important, this is what I want to do, and this is what excites me. Now, maybe you don't have anything in your life right now. Maybe you do. And I would highly suggest that would be, if you write down that list and you do come up with things that excite you, then that's what's important to you. And this is a very individual thing, right? Because everybody's list is going to be completely different. And again, if you can't find anything on your list currently that's important to you, again, it goes back to experiences. You need to get out and experience things. Now, see, I've traveled the world, I've had a family, I've gone to college, I've switched jobs, I've done so many different things. So I've really got to get a full grasp on what is actually important to me, and actually to refine new things that are important to me, right? And that's a good thing to remember, that when you are generating this list, and really think about things that perhaps you'd be interested in and write those down. Try to experience those, right? And see if any of those new experiences bring things of importance to you, right? Because you're going to be constantly changing this list. This is never going to be the same. It's never always going to be, this one thing is always going to be important to me. Yes, some things do, I think, always remain important to you, but you'll always experience new things. As long as you're trying to experience new things, you will find importance in different things. Now, this is why I always try to go out and experience different things. If I'm curious about it, I go try it out and see if it's something I really want to do. Because if you're experiencing these things, you find what's important, and then you just work on those things, right? Once you have a couple things that are really important to you, then you do those things, right? And again, people can give you all different kinds of lists and tell you, hey, all these X, Y, and Z are what's important in life. And if you don't, think that those things are important, that something's wrong with you, when in fact, there's absolutely nothing wrong with you, because nobody's list is the same. You have to build your list. You have to understand what exactly makes you tick, right? What makes you happy? What makes you excited to get out there and do these things? And that's what's truly important in life, is those things that are important to you, not to, perhaps your spouse, your friends, your family. It has nothing to do with them, right? This is you. This is what's important to you. And you may have been going by those guidelines for all your life. And this is, again, where you come back to where you feel like there's a void there, because you don't really understand what is important in life, because you haven't experienced the things that you want to experience. You may be experiencing things that other people said is important, so you find yourself doing those things and not getting anything out of it, and then coming back to that question about what's important in life. And yes, there are certain things in life that are important, but ultimately, why would you be asking this question about what's important in life? Now, when I ask myself what's important in life, I really I take it from a selfish standpoint, right? And you have to, because we're ultimately looking to be happy, right? This is ultimately what we're trying to do, is be happier individuals and live a good life, right? And one in which we can, reflect back on our life and say, hey, I lived this life. I didn't hold anything back. I did everything I wanted to do. I left it all out on the table. And that's what was important to me, is the fact that I tried a little bit of everything and I enjoyed life, right? Now, by living by somebody else's standards, you aren't going to experience this. You're going to only experience, hollowness, because it has nothing to do with what you want to do. And that's what's most important, is following your heart, right? This is ultimately what it comes down to. And ultimately, the message I want to send you guys is that what's most important in life is what is most important to you. So write down that list, and if you feel like that list is incomplete, then you need to be out experiencing those things. Just do whatever it is that is important to you. And I can guarantee you that if you stick to those things that are important to you, this question will be easily answered by you. And it should only be answered by you and for you. You shouldn't seek out someone to answer this question for you. And yes, there are, again, many things that are important in life, or we assume is important because other people tell us that they are important. It's not what you've come to. It's not to the conclusion that you've came to, right? You haven't thought to yourself that, well, is this really important to me? Or is this what society is telling me is important? And that's where you really got to look at. That's what you really got to reflect at. Is it important to you? Because if it is, then that is something that is important. And that's something you should be taking care of, and that's something you should be putting your time, energy, and your effort into, as opposed to what other people feel is important, right? Because none of that really matters. None of that really matters when it comes to, the end of the day, right? When you finish your day and you go and you sit in bed and you lay there with your thoughts, right? Are you excited about what you're doing? Do you feel what you're doing is important to you? Not to everybody else. Everybody else, it doesn't matter. None of that matters. What matters is if it's important to you. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, you're going to go home with those thoughts, and that's all you're left with, right? It doesn't matter who you're with, right? We're all going to still sit there with our thoughts. You all still have to look that man or woman in the mirror and answer to them on what's important to them. Because if you're not doing what's important to you, you're not going to be happy. You're not going to experience any of these things that will bring happiness and joy and satisfaction into your life, because you are not going after those things that are important to you. So remember that it all comes down to what is important to you. Don't go off of all these other people telling you what's important. Don't look up more YouTube videos wondering what's important. You know what's important. And if you don't, then that's a time that you need to reflect on what's important in your life currently and what experiences you can adopt into your life that will perhaps shed more light on what could be possible, what could be important in your life. And then go with that and leave it at that. And if you again come around to this question, then you need to be looking for more experiences so you can find your importance. So I hope this has helped you, and if it has, smash that like button. And until next time, I will see you guys later.